but online session is happening from Chinmaya Prerana, which is a Mahalakshmi temple. So prostrations to Devi also will start. जय श्री राम जय रघुराम जय श्री राम जय रघुराम
जय श्री राम जय रघुराम
जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम
जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम
जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम
जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम
देवगणार्चित राजा राम
देवगणार्चित राजा राम
देवगणार्चित राजा राम
देवगणार्चित राजा राम
मुनि मन ध्यावत आत्मा राम
मुनि धावत आत्मा राम
मुनि मन ध्यावत आत्मा राम
मुनि धावत आत्मा राम
जन मन रंजन पावन 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 राम
भव भय भंजन सीताराम
भव भय भंजन सीताराम
भव भय भंजन सीताराम
भव भय भंजन सीताराम
जय श्री राम जय रघुराम
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 जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम
जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम
देवगणार्चित राजा राम
देवगणार्चित राजा राम
मुनि मन ध्यावत आत्मा राम
मुनि मन धावत आत्मा राम
जन मन रंजन पावन राम
जन मन रंजन पावन राम
भव भय भंजन सीताराम
भव भय भंजन सीताराम
भव भय भंजन सीताराम
भव भय भंजन सीताराम
जय श्री राम जय रघुराम जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम बोलिए सियावर रामचंद्र की। ओम गंगणपते नमः। ओम गुं गुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम श्रीं सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम समस्तजन कल्याणे निरतं करुणां नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं नीलाम्बुजश्यामलकोमलांगं सीता समारोपितवामभागं पाणौ महासायकचारुचापं नमामि रामं रघुवंशनाथम् अतुलितबलधामं हेमशैलाभदेहं दनुजवनकृशानुं ज्ञानिनामग्रगण्यं सकलगुणनिधानं वानराणामधीशं रघुपतिप्रियभक्तं वातजातं नमामि पूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविता शाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम्। Why do we listen to the stories? Why? Because of the same reason why we do all other things. And what is that? Because we like doing it. Why do we eat? Because we like eating. Why do you sleep? Because we like sleeping. Why do we listen to the stories? We like stories. Not only that, everybody likes stories. Food, there will be some people who don't like some kind, but stories everybody like. Right from childhood, you see children to love stories. They to at all times they'll keep saying story, 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 story. I want to listen to the story. They will all keep saying that. That doesn't mean that once you grow up, you don't like stories. You still like stories. So our ancestors found out this truth very early. And they said, if you want to teach something to common person, to every single person, we must tell through story. Then it will go. Correct? From childhood, how many stories we have heard, isn't it? We should just start the story and you already know. The rabbit and the tortoise, isn't it? Now there is a point that they want to tell, but they tell it through a story. Why? Because that registers in our mind, and we also listen in a very, enthusiastical way. Otherwise, all the time talking about Vedanta, sometimes it becomes too much. It's natural. So are we going to talk something other than Vedanta? No. We're still going to talk Vedanta only, but through a story. So we hear stories. Some of them are true stories. Some of them are fictional stories. Some of them are created for a specific purpose. Some of them, as they say, are partial truth based on true events. Nowadays, movies, etc., also come like that only, isn't it? So they first itself they say that we raise our hand that we are not responsible. It is based on true events, not that every single thing is true. Sometimes they go other way around, saying that no characters in this entire movie have any connection with any living or dead person. Why? Then don't come and say that you took away our story, etc. But here it is exact opposite. All characters in the story that we are going to see are real, and all the incidences that we will be seeing are connected to someone's life, and we are going to see all those incidences. So it is not just a story, but it is a true story. Let me get that clarified in the beginning itself. Why? Because we are about to start study of the first chapter of Valmiki Ramayanam. Valmiki Ramayana's first chapter, also called as Sankshipta Ramayana or Moola Ramayana. Sometimes that chapter is called. Why? Because the entire story of Ramayana is given in short, in essence, as a seed. So Moola Ramayana. And this story is not a fiction, is not a mythology. Please remember, in Shastra, in the types of scriptures that we have in our Indian culture, there are Vedas, there are Smritis, there are Itihasas, there are Puranas, there are Sutra Granthas, Bhashya Granthas, etc. So many types are there. Now, the story which is true, recounting true incidents, come under the category of Itihasa. Iti Ha, asa, itihasa. Itihasa means what? Iti, thus. Ha, indeed. Asa, it happened. So what comes under itihasa is something that actually happened. Now, I know just because we are saying that it comes under itihasa doesn't mean that everybody will just accept it. They will say, what is the proof? See, this question of what is the proof, whether Ramayana actually happened or not, Sri Rama was actually there or not, these type of questions we have heard enough, isn't it? And we have listened to the answers also many times. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't agree. But you see, the matter of fact is, your great grandfather existed. What is the proof? What is the proof? Do you have any picture of great grandfather? If you have great great grandfather, do you have any picture? They might not even have documents. See, now we have Aadhaar card, PAN card, etc. compulsory. In those times, those things were not there. Do you have copy of Aadhaar card, PAN card, ration card? That time, great great grandfather. Do you have anything? What is the proof he existed? What do you mean? What is the proof? The very fact that I am existing proves that my great great grandfather existed. Because if he was not there, then my great grandfather would not be there, then grandfather, then father, then me. It would not have happened, isn't it? So very fact that I am there proves that my ancestors were there. Now, if you ask your father or grandfather, etc., they will tell you the names of your 7 generations, isn't it? Have you ever asked them what is the proof that these were the names? Actually, you should have. I don't know in other places, in Maharashtra, etc., after 3 generations, nobody knows the names. I am telling you fact. Because when you have to do Kriya, etc., no, Antyavidi and all these things, they will ask 3 generations from father side, 3 generations from mother side, etc. And you don't know, especially the names of ladies. You don't know. Then the Panditji, Guruji only says that, you add Ganga, Jamuna, Saraswati, Kaveri, Krishna. Whatever name comes to you, you add. Why? Because we don't know. So, I always ask this question. Sitting in Vedanta class or sitting in spiritual class, Adhyatma class, we will always ask this question, whether Sri Rama existed or not, whether Sri Krishna really was there or not, whether the bridge is there or not, whether the story actually happened or not. We'll ask all these questions. Sitting in science class, did you ask all these questions? Physics class, when you were sitting in school, did you ask? Why? When the teacher came and said, Newton's first law of motion. Newton's first law of motion? Everything remains to be in the state of motion unless until acted upon by an external unbalanced force. You studied all that. Anybody raised hand and said, what is the proof Newton came up with this law? Any one of you asked? Why? Is there any proof that Newton came up with this law? Just as a possibility. Maybe the neighbor of Newton was a very clever person. He came up with this law. Newton took it, plagiarism, and made it patent on his name. Possible or not possible, you tell me. I'm not saying he did that. I'm not saying he did that. I believe in Newton. I am sure Newton must have done it. But is there a possibility or not? There is a possibility. What is the proof that Einstein only came up with the relativity principle? No answer. Did anyone ask in the science class? No. Nobody asked anything. But now when we sit in the spiritual class, immediately we ask, what is the proof Sri Rama existed? Now, I see, answers can be given in many ways. I have one counter question. What kind of proof do you want? What kind of proof is acceptable to you? That also you tell me. It should be written. Then you will say that it is not written by a real person. Because if you say it should be written, 24,000 shlokas are written. Is Valmiki ji bored and not having any time, therefore he started writing 24,000 shlokas about a person who did not exist? For Mahabharata, 1 lakh verses are written by Bhagavan Vedavyasa. He will write just like that. And remember, the same Vedavyasa has also written so many Puranas, where he states clearly that some of the stories are real, some of the stories are fictional, have been written here to communicate a point. So there is a different category of texts where the stories are not 100% true. Not all stories are. Some stories are made up stories. Now, that category existed. Still, they decided to have a separate category called Itihasa and put Ramayana and Mahabharata into that. Why? There must be reason. So if you say that it should be written, it is written. It is written, entire account, and written by the people who existed at that time. Valmiki ji, who is writing the Ramayana, is very much part of the Ramayana. Bhagavan Sri Rama meets Valmiki ji. Sita ji goes to Valmiki Ashrama when she is pregnant and the children are born in Valmiki Ashram. So it is written by somebody who existed at that time. It cannot be fictional. No? And another thing also, you see other Ramayanas that we have, other Ramayanas, no? Tulsi Ramayana is there, or Ananda Ramayana is there, or Bhava Ramayana is there, and Adhyatma Ramayana is there, in Sanskrit Adhyatma Ramayana, in Malayalam, so many other Ramayanas are there. We will see that in all those Ramayanas, Bhagavan Sri Rama is worshipped as Bhagavan. And therefore, many times glorification takes precedence. Stutis are there. We study Bhagavat also, Purana, and we see there are so many stutis. But you see Itihasa, you see Ramayana, you see Mahabharata, there are not many stutis. Why? Because it is not that kind of text. If you see critical analysis, if you want to do just of the text, you will see that the methodology with which the text is written is very different from other texts. And very interestingly, why it should be considered as history is because Valmiki ji does not try to cover anything. So that is called history. History means what? What happened, you should tell that. Whether it is a good thing about that person or bad thing about that person. We will see that in many other Ramayanas, Tulsi Ramayana, etc., the difficult portions are avoided. Why? Because that text is not history. That text is to inculcate devotion in us. It is a bhakti grantha, not itihasa grantha, Tulsi Ramayana. But Valmiki ji will not do that. We will see throughout Ramayana, Bhagavan Sri Rama is considered as a human being. In the beginning, it is said that he is avatar of Mahavishnu. There is no denying that fact. But entire, what we say, analysis of Bhagavan's life is done as a human being. And therefore, all human emotions are given to Bhagavan. Actually, if you study Ramayana, you will be surprised. Why? Because Bhagavan Sri Rama is shown in such a way that he is extremely emotional person. Contrary to whatever we have heard so far. We will hear the moment somebody says that Dasharatha Maharaj is dead, he falls down, unconscious. Why? He cannot take that. When Lakshmana is hit with that arrow and he is unconscious, no, he starts lamenting, what is happening to me? I should have died. My brother is like this. I don't want to live. When Sita ji is kidnapped, we see what kind of sorrow is shown to Sri Ram. Actually, analysis-wise, those who do Sahitya, literature analysis of Ramayana, the main bhava, main rasa, they will speak of rasa, no, is Karunya rasa of entire Ramayana. Karunya rasa pradhan it is, not Bhakti rasa pradhan. It's Karunya rasa pradhan. Why? So much of shoka, so much of sorrow is there that Sri Rama is experiencing, and then all the queens are experiencing when Sri Rama leaves all his mothers, etc. So we see that literary analysis also, if we do of Sri Valmiki Ramayana, we understand that it is very different from all other kinds of Ramayanas. Therefore, it is a history, not mythology. So this is something that we must understand, and we must make a point to tell everybody that it is a history. See, I am not going to give you proofs that the present scientists have found, that you all know. that the Setu is found, and they have tracked entire path of how Sri Rama started from Ayodhya and which route he went, and how he reached that Rameshwaram, and from there how he crossed, etc. Everything is found. We don't even have to go there. Why? Because why should science tell us what is true or not? Science itself doesn't know itself. They themselves cannot prove their own theory. Why? Because the next person comes and disproves the old theory. See, I don't have anything against science, but I am saying, why should that be the only criteria to decide what is true or what is not? Why can't lineage, tradition be authoritative? See, just like your grandparents or grandfather tells you who are your 7 ancestors, you accept. Do you ask for any written proof, any scientific proof? No. Why? Because tradition, according to Indian culture, is one of the authoritative means. So if it has come in tradition, it has to be true. Now you check in your own life. Every single child in India listens to the story of Ramayana. Yes or no? Every single child. I will go to extend and say that even non-Hindu children listen to the story of Ramayana. Ramayana and Mahabharata is a common. Why? Because it is there in the genes of Indian culture. Of which religion you belong to doesn't matter at all. Now you tell me, if it has come in tradition, in every generation listens to the story. We have heard in 16th century also, when Shivaji Maharaj etc. were there, his mother used to tell him stories of Ramayana. Today also our mother is telling the story of Ramayana. Tomorrow to our children, we will tell the story of Ramayana. Why can't we accept tradition as an authoritative means? We can, we should. Point number 1. Point number 2. Let us for a moment believe that Ramayana did not happen. For a moment. I'm not saying it did not happen. Just for the sake of argument. Let us believe. So what? So what, it did not happen? We watch movies which are not true several times. Yes or no? So many of us have watched Sholay. How many times you have watched Sholay? Number of times. Again and again. We have done Parayana of Sholay. And there are people, in Guinness Book of World Record, there is a record by a person who watched 75 times or something like this. He's done Parayana. Now, was there actually Thakur and Jai Viru? All these were not there. Were they there? No, these are fictional characters. And not that from that story, lot to learn, etc. is there. Nothing like that. Just for the sake of enjoyment, we watch it. Isn't it? Now you think, for thousands of years, we are listening to the story of Ramayana. It must be entertaining, no? Otherwise, why will anybody continue to tell the same story again and again? Forget about thousands of years. In our life itself, how many times you have heard story of Ramayana? So many times. Still you are here today. Why? Because it is nice. It's a beautiful story. They say that if a movie is running and doing a good business, there has to be something good in it. Otherwise, it won't have that much business. If Ramayana story is continuing for so many thousands of years, there has to be something in it. So even if we say that it is a fictional story, so be it. You listen. Why? It is entertaining. In addition to that, it's not just entertaining. It is educative. It is inspiring. It is spiritually uplifting. Isn't it? Even if we say that Sri Rama did not exist, but still the story of Sri Rama can guide us in our life or not. Even if we say that Mahabharata did not happen, but what state Arjuna was, are we not in the similar state? So even for the sake of argument, if we accept that Ramayana did not happen, even then there is something that we must learn from the story of Sri Rama. Okay? Again, I am not saying that it did not happen. I am saying it did happen. There's no doubt about it. Right? But while listening to the story, let us also keep an eye on what can we learn from this story. Getting the point? Right. So we are going to start the story of Ramayana. And as the title suggests, the main hero of the story in and as is Bhagavan Sri Rama. What do we mean by Rama? In Sanskrit, we study that there are certain nouns which have been formed from roots. Remember? What is that called? What is that called? Those kind of nouns which are formed from the roots. Tell, don't hesitate. Kridantas. From the root, a noun is formed. So Rama word also comes from a root, from a dhatu called ram. Ram, not rum. See, I am telling you that rum is called rum because there is some Rama in it. Otherwise, people will not enjoy it so much. I am telling you. So rum means to revel, to enjoy, to be happy. In Hindi, we say, no, Ramaman hona. Ram means to revel. So what do we mean by Ramaha? So they said different meanings are there. One, Ramante yoginaha yasmin saha Ramaha. One in whom yogis revel, or one in whom wise people, noble people, good people revel. He is called as Ramaha. One meaning. Second meaning, Yaha Atmani Ramate Saha Ramaha. One who revels in oneself. Sometimes we call Atma Ramaha, one who revels in oneself. So one in whom wise revel, one who revels in oneself. Number three, third meaning, one who revels through everyone or in everyone. Sarveshu Ramante or Ramate Saha. One who revels in all means what? In each and every one of us, as the conscience, as the self, as the Sakshi, one who is present, that is Rama. That is Sri Ram. One in whom everyone revels, wise people revel. One who revels in oneself. One who revels in all. One who resides in all. That is called as Rama. And the story is called as what? Ramayana. Ramayanam. What do you mean by Ramayana? Ramasya Ayanam Ramayanam. It is Ayana of Sri Rama. What do we mean by Ayana? Again, different meanings are there. One meaning of Ayana is path. That's why we say, Dakshinayana, Uttarayana, the southern path and the northern path. So one meaning of Ayana is path. So Ramasya Ayanam means what? The path that Sri Rama took. Now again, here also two meanings are possible. The path that Sri Rama took means what? The path of Dharma that Sri Rama demonstrated. That is called as Ramayanam. The path of Dharma, righteousness that Bhagavan Sri Rama demonstrated. In the same text, Valmiki Ramayana is also said, Ramo Vigrahavan Dharma. Rama, Sri Rama is Sakshat. Righteousness has taken a form, physical form. That is Sri Rama. So the path which is advocated, which is demonstrated by Sri Rama, that path of righteousness, path of Dharma, Dharma Marga is called as Ramayana. One meaning. Second meaning is the path that Sri Rama took, means his life story. He went through these incidences, experiences, the path that he took. So life story of Sri Rama, that is also meaning of Ramayanam. Ramayanam, Ramasyanam also means house of Sri Ram. House, abode of Sri Ram. Means what? Where is Sri Rama residing? In the Ramayana. See, we want to meet somebody. We meet so many people outside. But suppose we want to discuss something personal. Then the person says, not like this, not on road. Please come to my house. Isn't it? Then we will sit and discuss nicely. Not in the office. Office, too many things, and I have work also is there. You come evening, you come at home. Then we will sit and discuss. So if we want to meet Sri Rama, if we want to talk to him, personal stuff, we must go to Ramayana. You want to know him or you want to tell him about you, in both ways, you have to go to Ramayana. So Ramayana, Ramasya Ayanam means what? The path of dharma that Sri Rama demonstrated, the life story of Sri Rama, or the abode of Sri Rama. And we know that the text is also called as Ramayanam. Ramayanam is the name of the text. We call it Valmiki Ramayana to distinguish it from other Ramayanas, because Ramayana is so well known. So many people have rewritten it. See, it is like, today so many examples of movies and songs are coming. Movie, when some movie is good, no, then they remake the movie. Isn't it? Remake of the movie. Many movies they remake. Many songs, if the song has done well, then they want to remake. But it is not that the remade movie will be exactly same as the original, shot by shot. No, then there is no point in making it again, isn't it? But you will very rarely see a true story being remade. They will say, okay, now already one movie is there on it. Why to make? Now you see, Ramayana is remade how many times? Not only in the form of movie, also so many movies of Ramayana are there. But as a text also, you see so many Ramayanas are there. In every language that is spoken in India, there is Ramayana. Of course, the original, if we have to say that, which comes in the category of Itihasa, is Valmiki Ramayana. True. It is not only original text, but it is the first text ever written by a human. Before Valmiki ji, it was only Vedas, which are revealed texts. Isn't it? So the first composition, the first written text, first poetry is this Valmiki Ramayana. And the first poet is Sri Valmiki. Adi Kavi, we say. And this is Adi Kavya. Adi means first. The first poet and first poetry. That is this Ramayana, which Valmiki Ramayana we are now referring to. See, again, the text name is only Ramayana, okay? We have to say Valmiki Ramayana because there are so many other Ramayana, right? Now, after Valmiki Ramayana, Vedavyasa has also written a Ramayana called as Adhyatma Ramayana. Very interesting. If you get a chance, please read that Ramayana. Very, very interesting. Why? Because see, Valmiki ji is before Vedavyasa, isn't it? Rama Avatar is before Krishna Avatar. So Valmiki ji had already written Ramayana. So Vedavyasa's Ramayana is unique. It's called Adhyatma Ramayana in Sanskrit, not the Malayalam Adhyatma Ramayana. This is Adhyatma Ramayana in Sanskrit. And interesting thing about this Ramayana is everybody in that Ramayana story knows everything. Means Dasharath Maharaj knows that I am going to get 4 children before doing Putra Kameshti Yajna. He knows that I am going to die when Sri Rama will leave me and I am going to die. Kaikeyi knows that I have to go and tell. Everybody knows the story. There is no suspense element. Why? Because Valmiki has already told. No, everybody has heard. So even the characters in the story know the entire story. How very interesting, I am telling you. But still they go through whole thing. Why? Because the purpose is not to tell the story at all of Vedavyasa. Purpose is Adhyatma Ramayana. He is giving spiritual significance of every single character, Every single incident, every single place that the story takes place, for everything he has given spiritual significance. So story takes a backseat, and therefore everybody knows the story, including the characters of the story. Very interesting. Then we have other Ramayanas. We have Tulsi Ramayana, which is also very famous. Ramacharita Manasa, written by Tulsi Das ji, isn't it? In Awadhi language, Awadhi, the native language of Ayodhya. It is a dialect of Hindi, which is also very, very, very famous, and written in a very different way for a different purpose. It's not a history. He's nowhere. He says also, Ramayane Nigaditam Kvachid Anyatah api. I am telling you stories which are written in Valmiki Ramayana, and I have also taken stories from some other place. What is the purpose of writing that story? He says, what is that? To educate my mind and to revel in the story of Sri Rama. I am not telling because I want to tell you, or I want to become a bestseller author. My book should be nothing for that purpose. I am telling the story for what? For Swanta Sukhaya Tulasi Raghunatha Gatha Bhasha Anibandha Mati Manjula Matanu. He says, Swanta Sukhaya, for the joy of my own mind. For my own joy, I am writing. So we will see in that story, Ramayana is written in a very different way. There Bhagavan is Bhagavan. Sri Rama is Bhagavan throughout. So he is worshipped, and he is praised, and stutis are there, and very beautiful portions are there. The text is meant to inculcate devotion in us. Similarly, in other languages also, we have so many Ramayanas. There is Ananda Ramayana, there is a Bhava Ramayana, there is Kamba Ramayana, Tamil, very famous Ramayana. Kamban has written. Bhavartha Ramayana, so many Ramayanas are there, right? But in all of them, one Ramayana that stands out is Valmiki Ramayana. Not just because of its literary brilliance, but because it is the original Ramayana. The story of all other Ramayanas is taken from Valmiki Ramayana, right? So who was this Valmiki? Now about Valmiki ji also, there are many, many stories. I am not sure how many you have heard. There are three versions of story. Who was Valmiki ji? One says that he was a Brahmana whose name was Agni Sharma. His earlier name was Agni Sharma. He was son of Prachetas Rishi, and he was a very pious, very noble Brahmin, and he did tapasharya because Naradji told him to do. Naradji told him to do tapasharya, so he did. But he was not very good with this kind of tapasharya, bhakti sadhana, etc. So how Naradji told, exact way he did, and he got that siddhi, power to see the entire Ramayana, and therefore he wrote entire Ramayana. This is one story. Another story says that there was one Brahmana by the name Loha Jangha. Loha Jangha. And this Brahmana actually was a very noble, pious, but he became very poor. Came to a state that his family will die because there is no food. So he started to rob and started to take food, and that's how he started feeding his family. And one day he met Saptarshis, the 7 main rishis which are there. He met those Saptarshis, and among them one Pulaha Rishi is there. Pulaha Rishi. Bhagavat we studied. Pulaha. I told also this is very important, it will come. See, it has come. Pulaha Rishi, one of the Prajapatis, according to Srimad Bhagavatam. This Pulaha Rishi is also a Saptarshi, and he told this Loha Jangha to give up this robbery and do tapasharya. And then he did tapasharya, and he got the power to see, and then he wrote Ramayana. These two stories are less known stories. I am not sure how many of you have heard these stories before. But the third story is very, very well-known story. That this Valmiki ji before was a dacoit, was a robber by the name Ratnakar. In Marathi, we say Valya Koli. I don't know why they say Valya Koli, because if he was a Koli is a fisherman. If he was a fisherman, why was he in jungle, etc.? I have never asked these questions to my mother. Sorry for that. But somehow in Maharashtra, we say Valya Koli. Valya sa Valmiki zala. Valya became Valmiki. Okay. But in the story that we hear from Puranas, etc., he was a dacoit by the name Ratnakar and was a very terrible person. He used to kill people just for fun, not because he wants anything also. Even though they don't have any wealth with them, still he will kill. It is said that in his house there were 7 big vessels. Big vessels. You must have seen olden times, those small neck will be there and then long vessels will be there. Those 7 big vessels were filled with small pebbles. And it is said that every time he will kill a person, he will put a pebble in it. You imagine? That much he was terrorizing. And nobody used to go through that path in the forest because they were all scared. Because he used to kill for fun. Now, one day, Naradji went through this road. Everybody warned him, don't go. This is very dangerous. Don't go. He said, what danger? I don't mind. So he started going. So Ratnakar with his 4 or 5 people, he came there in front of it. Hey, can't go forward. He said, why? Why means what? I have come. You know who I am? Naradji said, no. Do you know who I am? Ratnakar said, I am Ratnakar. I am the most terrible dacoit ever. And now you are caught by me. Naradji said, okay. What do you want? What you want? I will take everything that you have. Tell me what you have. Show me what wealth, what are you carrying, diamonds, all these things. Naradji said, haven't you looked at me? I am not carrying any bag. You know, even I don't even have shirt actually to have pockets also in it. I am wearing a simple cloth, having this veena in my hand and chanting Bhagwan's name. But there is some priceless things that I have. What are these priceless things? He says, I have 3 things. Jnana, Vairagya and Bhakti. If you want, take. Why? Because these are the things, if I give also, they won't go away from me, and plus you will get. No, Ratnakara had never met any person who was not afraid of him. First time he met. So he tried to, terrorize Naradji, saying that, you see what is there in my hand, axe is there, and this axe has seen so many murders, has committed so many murders. You know who I am, should be afraid of me. Naradji was unmoved. He said, what is this? Naradji said, can I ask you one question? He says, what question? Why are you doing all these things? You are robbing people, you are taking their wealth, you are killing people. Why? What is the purpose? Ratnakar said, why means what? I am doing it for my family. Naradji said, fair enough. You're doing it for family. Fine. Question is, do you know you are doing wrong? He said, what do you mean wrong? Killing people, robbing people is not good. You know that. Yeah, but I can't do anything. I have to feed my family. Okay. You know you are doing wrong. And therefore, you know you are committing sin by which Papa will come to you. Sin will come to you. And you are saying that you are doing it for the family. Please go and ask your family, will they share your sins? Why? You are doing it for them. First time he was made to think. Naradji. So he said, okay, I will ask. No, first you tell. He said, no, go now and ask. He said, no, if I go, you will run away. He says, no, I will not run away. You tie me to the tree and then go. You tie me to the tree so that I cannot run away. So that Ratnakara tied Naradji to the tree and went home. His old father was there, wife was there, son was there. Went and asked each and every person, you know, I am committing crime for you to feed you. Will you take my papa? Portion of it? Father said no. Why? I have done my job of feeding the family. Now I have given it to you. How you feed is your problem, not mine. I did not teach you to rob, so I will not take papa. Went to the son. Son said, I am small child. I don't even know what is meant by crime, what is meant by feeding, and I don't know. You are doing your job. What kind of job you are doing? I don't know. I will not take anything. Went to his wife. Asked wife. I should not say too much. Why? Too many people will be touched. Brahmachari talking so much. Went to the wife and said that, will you take the papa? She said, no. Why? I am your Sahadharmacharini. Only on the path of dharma I follow you. Half of the punya that you gain comes to me. But no such thing is there for papa. Veda says that when a husband good action, half of it automatically goes to the wife. That's why he wears extra upavita also on behalf of the wife. So that whatever karma is done, half of the punya goes to her. But if the person does papa, half doesn't go to wife. Entire thing remains with you. So she reminded him, you see. Now Ratnakar started to think, for whom I am doing all these things, and actually they are now well-to-do. I have taken care of them enough now. So he went back. Very, very dejected. It's actually life-transforming occasion for him. Went back and saw that Naradji is still there, tied to the tree. Immediately released him and he said that you were right. None of them agreed to take any of my sins. You please tell me, what should I do? Naradji said, for every kind of sin, there is one prayaschitta. What is that? Namasmaranam. You take the name of the Lord. But remember, he is a criminal. He's never even taken name of Lord by mistake also. Therefore, when Naradji started to explain, say Rama, Rama, he could not even utter Bhagwan's name. So Naradji said, okay, you say Mara, 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 Mara. Why? Mara means die. Ratnakar must be Maharashtrian. Because Mara in Marathi means die. Mar. In Hindi we say, no, Marja. Mara. Must be Maharashtrian. So he said Mara, 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 Mara. Automatically it became Rama, 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 Rama. He could not even utter Rama. But you see, once he decided that I have done wrong things and I have to get rid of all my sins, he sat there, did not even get up to eat or to do anything for a break, nothing. Continuously chanting name of Bhagavan, Ram, 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 Ram. It is said that he was so immersed in that one ant hill was formed around him and he did not even know. One mosquito for us sufficient. Forget about real mosquito. Thought of mosquito, that some mosquito is there disturbing me, that itself, our meditation is gone. Over. Eyes are open. We start finding, and then we say that, I should call Abin and tell, there's too many mosquitoes here, or I think I should complain to manager only, and then meditation gone. Thought of a mosquito. Okay, there are nets, there are doors, and everything is there. No mosquito is there inside. Thought of mosquito itself disturbs us. You imagine ant actually came to we are gone. One ant is sufficient. Entire ant hill was formed around him. He did not even know. From the same route, after many years, Naradji was passing. and he saw an ant hill, and from inside the ant hill, Ram, Ram, Ram was coming out. So Naradji removed that anthill, that dust on the anthill, and he saw that there is a person inside. Anthill in Sanskrit is called Valmika. So one who appeared from that Valmika, appeared means he was there inside, his name became Valmiki. 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 Okay. Naradji became so pleased. See, Naradji must have told the same thing to so many people. Chant Bhagavan's name. Very few people have actually followed. And whenever people have followed, Naradji becomes very pleased. Dhruva followed. Prahlad followed. Now you see Ratnakar also followed and became Valmiki. Now this Valmiki ji one day was going somewhere and he saw one hunter killing one bird. The bird is called as Krauncha Pakshi. Krauncha. They are always in pair. The birds are always in pair. So the husband and wife, they always go wherever they want to go together. Must have seen. So it is said that that hunter killed that male bird. And looking at that thing, that hunter killing a bird, Valmiki ji's heart was filled with sorrow. And first poetry came out from him. That shloka is also there in this Valmiki Ramayana itself in the second chapter. Ma nishada pratishtham tomagama shashwati samaha yat krauncha mituna devam avadhi kama mohitam. He is actually, out of that sorrow, he curses that hunter. Ma nishada. Oh nishada. Oh. Ma pratishtham. You will never have a steady life. Tvam agama shashwati samaha. For years, for lives together, you will never be able to rest peacefully. Why? Yat. Because Krauncha Mithunad, among the two birds, Krauncha Mithuna, Mithuna means two. Ekam avadhihi. You killed one. Kama mohitam. They were sitting and they were having their usual things, no kama, etc., between the husband and wife, and you killed one of them. You will not have peace for rest of your life. Now, when he said something like this, he himself was wondering what happened. Why? Because it was not in prose, it was in poetry. So he immediately closed his eyes and remembered Bhagavan, and he says that I don't know what has happened. So it is said that Brahmaji, the creator, appeared there and said that what you just said is actually a composition, is actually a poetry. And you have composed something in a meter, in a metrical form, Anushtup meter, Shloka meter you have composed. Now, this is a rare talent and you are the first one to get this talent. You must use this talent to write about Bhagavan. And therefore, you must write the story of Sri Ram. This is the story. Okay. Yat krauncha mithunadekam avadhi kama mukta. And in the same chapter, it is also said, Shlokaha shlokatvam agataha. Very famous line. That shloka came from shoka. Because of sorrow. See, actually speaking, that is the fact even now. Anybody wants to compose something, no? There has to be some kind of sorrow. Even a good, happy poetry to write, there has to be some kind of softness in the heart. Those people who are insensitive can never write poetry. They should not. Better not write. Worst kind of poetry they will ever write. But those people who are soft, why? Because they feel for the world. They feel for the incidences that are happening, and therefore the poetry comes. Now this Valmiki ji got this rare gift, and on Brahmaji's instruction, he decided to write. But he should know the story. That is where the Ramayana begins. Valmiki Ramayana, first chapter, first shloka, begins with what? Let us read the shloka, then we'll see the meaning. Will you repeat after me? No. Tapaswadhyaya niratam tapasvi vagvidam varam naradam paripapracha valmikir munipungavam. Together. Tapaswadhyaya niratam tapasvi vagvidam varam naradam paripapracha valmikir munipungavam. From tomorrow, this verse also will be chanting in the beginning, because this is the first verse of Ramayana. What is said? Valmikihi Naradam paripapracha. This is the main sentence. Valmikihi Naradam paripapracha. Paripapracha, asked. Valmiki asked Naradji. Now all other words are adjectives for Valmiki ji and Naradji. All other words of the verse. Tapasvi Valmiki. Tapasvi is Visheshana, adjective for Valmiki. Tapasvi Valmiki. Why? Because he has just completed so much of tapas and then only he has become Valmiki. We have seen, isn't it? So Tapasvi Valmiki, Tapaswadhyaya niratam, Vagvidam varam, Munipungavam, Naradam, Paripapracha. Now remaining adjectives are for Naradji. Why? Is the teacher here? Should be praised more. Tapaswadhyaya niratam. Niratam, one who is always engaged in tapas and swadhyaya, in austerity and in self-study. One who is ever engaged. Tapaswadhyaya niratam. Vagvidam varam. Varam means shreshtham, best. Best among Vagvidam, orators. Among all those who can speak, who can explain, he is the best one. Vagvidam, among all of them, among all the orators, he is the best. Vagvidam varam. Munipungavam. Pungava means king. Munipungava means king of all the munis. King of all the muni means what? Manana Shilavan Munihi. The reflective ones are called as munis. So among all of them, he is the king of all of them. To such Narada, Tapasvi Valmiki, the one who has done so much of austerity, that ascetic Valmiki asked. Okay. What did he ask? That will come in the next verses. Okay. But before we go there, let us also understand who is this Naradji. We saw the story of Valmiki ji. Okay, fine. But who is this Naradji? Naradji, as we have heard in other places, Puranas, Bhagavad Purana, etc. also, is the Manasa Putra of Brahmaji, mind-born son of Brahmaji, of the creator, and supposed to be the fifth son. So after creating Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara, the fifth son is Naradji, Pavam, Brahmaji. First he created 4, said, we are taking sannyas, we don't want to create. Then Naradji said, I am also not going to get married and increase your praja, so please go for the next round. Then he created other Prajapatis, etc. But Naradji. Now this Naradji is a very misunderstood character from the history. Why? Because we have always seen, we know Rama and Mahabharata as shown by Ramanand Sagar and B.R. Chopra. We can't help it, isn't it? And in all those in the TV serials, etc., if we see, Naradji will be shown in a very, he's a comedian, isn't it? They show Vidushaka kind of role will be given to Naradji. Narayana, Narayana, saying this, he will go to all the places. And another thing about Naradji which will be shown is he will start many fights. Kalaha. In Marathi, we say Kalicha Narad. Means he will go somewhere and unnecessarily pinch somebody, and then some fight he will start. He will go to Kamsa and say that, you see, you have heard, no, that eighth son of Vasudeva is going to kill you. But it is eighth son is going to be Vishnu. So you never know from which side he will calculate. He may be born as first son and he will say that I am calculating from last and I am the eighth. You never know. Therefore, better be careful. Therefore, Kamsa started killing all the sons of Vasudeva and Devaki, isn't it? So many times Naradji will be shown in such a way that either he is a comedic character or he is the person who is, who is creating fights and then sitting and enjoying. But actually, Naradji is not that kind of character at all. See, Naradji is a very, very interesting character. Why? Because number one, he is loved by all. He is one character from Puranas and Itihasas who can enter anywhere. Even to Asuras and Rakshasas, he can just walk into the palace and they will welcome happily. Isn't it? Kamsa, Ravana, you see, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, everyone. Devatas, of course, Rishi Munis, of course, human beings, of course, even Asuras and Rakshasas. Direct entry. To Vaikuntha also, he has got direct entry. And his only purpose of life, the only mission that he has is to bring everyone to Bhagavan. Everyone. That is his mission. He is the first missionary. He is on that mission. Very, very interesting. We will listen to Bhagavad story, etc. On Prajapati, he had 1,000 sons. And as we have seen before starting the Praja, they always tell go and do tapasarya, so that you will be ready to do something noble. So these 1,000 people who went to do tapasarya, they met Naradji for some time. All of them took sannyas. So Prajapati said, what is this? So much of trouble I am making, because job is given to me to create prajas. I created 1,000 sons in thinking that they will create further prajas, I can relax. All of them are converted into missionaries by Naradji in some time. So he created again 1,000 sons. Again sent them for tapasarya. Again same thing happened. Naradji came, met them for some time. One session he took. One satsang. Over. Everybody decided that in the life, what is to be done? We have to realize Bhagavan. And therefore, what should we do? We should sing the glories of the Lord. Some other things, etc. Then the Prajapati became very, what is this? Then he went to Brahmaji and he said, you please tell your other son, how will I continue my job? He's interfering. So then Brahmaji called Naradji and said, you see, whoever comes to you, you please give Upadesha. Don't go on to their territory and don't go. If somebody comes to you, then. Because Naradji, what he will do, no? He will be in such places where he will meet such people. You see, Uttanapada's son was Dhruva. He decided that I want to leave my house because my stepmother threw me away from my father's lap and therefore I want to do tapasarya. When he is going to the forest, he met Naradji and then explained to Dhruva, oh, you want to do tapasarya? Then he looked at Brahmaji, see, he came to me, I did not go to palace. Now I will tell you how to do tapasarya. He explained to him and then Dhruva went and did tapasarya and we know what happened after. Prahlada, he started teaching Prahlada before he was born. When he was in Kayadu's womb only, Kayadu was brought by Naradji to his ashram. Why? To protect her from Devatas and Asuras, because Devatas and Asuras were fighting. So he said, you see this pregnant lady is there, so she should come to ashram. So in the ashram, continuously Bhagavan's name. So when Prahlada was born, he was born with that kind of samskaras. You take any great saint. We see Valmiki's story himself. He was Ratnakara, he became Valmiki. Because of whom? Because of Satsanga of Naradji. So Naradji is that kind of person. So whatever you have previous notions of Naradji, you should remove. Also, Naradji is teacher. In many of the sampradayas, we have seen Naradji is teacher. Naradji also is a student in one of the Upanishads. In Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 7. Sanak, Sanandana, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara. Sanat Kumaras are the teacher, his elder brothers, and he is the student. He is asking Vedantic questions. So he is a very great jnani, he is a very great bhakta, and his only job is to make everyone bhakta of Bhagavan. With that purpose alone, he does anything. And with that purpose alone, he is now come here to this Narada. Valmiki ji asks some questions. What are those questions? We will see in the next session. Ramayana story is incomplete without Hanumanji. Therefore, we keep Hanumanji's asana also. Why? Because that was the boon Hanumanji had asked. That wherever Ramayana story is happening, I want to be there. Therefore, fruits also are kept for him. Okay. So every session will conclude with remembering Hanumanji also. It's because of him that we have Sri Rama and Sri Rama's name so popular. Veera Maruti, Gambhira Maruti. Veera Maruti, Gambhira Maruti. Veera Maruti, Ati Dhira Maruti. Veera Maruti, Ati Dhira Maruti. Geeta Maruti, Sangeeta Maruti. Geeta Maruti, Sangeeta Maruti. Dhuta Maruti, Rama Dhuta Maruti. Dhuta Maruti, Rama Dhuta Maruti. Bhakta Maruti, Parama Bhakta Maruti. Bhakta Maruti, Parama Bhakta Maruti. Veera Maruti, Gambhira Maruti. Veera Maruti, Gambhira Maruti. Gambhira Maruti, Gambhira Maruti. श्यावर रामचंद्र की, पवन सुत हनुमान की, उमापति महादेव की, बोलो भाई सब संतन की, सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। हरि ओम। We'll meet tomorrow, same time.
Hari Om all. A gentle reminder, tomorrow morning 7:30 we will be having Gayatri Havan in our Sri Mahalakshmi temple, Chanya Prerna Karkar. This will be a physical program. Whoever wants to join for the Havan, please be here by 7:15. And at 11 a.m. we will be having a Chinmaya Prerna Pathshala, which is a family program. And tomorrow evening we will meet for this Samshipta Ramayana. Thank you all. Hari Om.